Good evening. It's August the 19th, approximately 9:20 in the evening, and I'm here to finish my series on the last 4 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. I left off on chapter 14, so tonight I'll be going through 15 through 18, 15, 16, 17, 18. And I'll also give a slight conclusion as a summary to the entire text itself. Again, this is just a group of introductory descriptive summaries of the Gita, all 18 chapters. This is not the in-depth work that will follow this series of 4 videos. I'm James Exum, also known as Sakshi, which means the witness in the yoga world. This video will actually be my 20th video, number 20. I'm reaching for a total goal of 50 videos before my 75th birthday, which is coming up in approximately 41 days, the last day of September. I'll turn 75, born 1950. I enjoy this work as much as I've enjoyed doing anything that I've done so far in my life. And I've had a wonderful life, I assure you. I've had a wonderful life. Old scholars never die, they just sort of lay their heads down on the reading table and take a long nap, it seems. But that's not where I'm going tonight, to the morbid side of things. I'm going to the positive side of things. I'm going to start with chapter 15, as I said, and these titles I'm giving you are not the true titles you find in the Bhagavad Gita. These are descriptive titles for my summaries of these individual chapters. This one, number 15, chapter 15, I called the cosmic tree because there's a mythical tree involved in this chapter. And this tree teaches us. It's sort of a peculiar tree. It's called the Ashvatha tree, Ashvatha, Ashvatha tree. Pronunciation really doesn't mean so much in the United States when it comes to Sanskrit terminology. It's not the words that matter, it's the meaning behind the words that we want to pay attention to. In my yoga philosophy, as a yoga teacher, as an old yogi that teaches yoga philosophy, we want to pay attention to the meaning, not necessarily the pronunciation. So here we go. I think I'm ahead of time. I normally spend about 3 to 5 minutes on an intro, and it looks like I'm going to be able to do it in less than 4 minutes this time. What I decided to do a few minutes ago when I was readying myself for this last video of this series, number 20, the ending of the 4 videos on a summary type explanation of the 18 chapters. I decided tonight I will probably do something I haven't done. I will probably read quite a bit of this because it is very intense and it's very deep and it's very wide. And if I ad-lib, this will run into an hour or two, and I just don't want to do that. I wrote these chapters over the last week or two, and even today, today actually, I started doing my preliminary work on the extended descriptions of the chapters that will be coming up in the next grouping. There's 18 chapters. I'm going to try to do maybe 2 chapters per video. That would be 9 videos. Might be able to do 3 chapters. That would make it 6 videos. In fact, I'm going to shoot for 6 videos on that one. But again, this will be probably one of the most important set of videos that I have done in my lifetime. Of course, I only started less than a month and a half ago, so that's not much of a comparison now, is it, at all? So I'll start with the reading now that we're in the 5-minute introductory has passed. When you hear me correcting myself as I speak, it's not a confused old man. I assure you, I'm not confused at all. I'm just an aging yogi, which means a practitioner of yoga, a teacher, a philosopher, someone well versed in the Vedic texts, the Upanishadic texts, the Gita itself. I haven't mastered the Mahabharata yet, but that's the longest book on earth of couplets. I believe there's like 200,000 couplets. I could be totally wrong, but memory serves, I believe that's right. So let's get into the narrative now. I wrote this in my own spirit. I've read so many of my own writings over the last 40 to 50 years that I can almost write in my sleep. In fact, sometimes I do compose in my sleep and wake up and come to my computer, my keyboard, and go to my Windows 11, and I just write until the memory starts fading, and then I go back and do my corrections. So I wrote this, as I said, in the last couple of weeks, so here we go. And I will skip through this here and there. I will truncate it, keep it short to save your time and my time. This, we're talking about the Cosmic Tree, chapter 15. This, the Gita tells us, is the Ashvatha tree, the sacred fig tree, an eternal symbol upside down and mysterious. Its roots drinking from the source above. Its roots drinking from the source above. So it's an inverted tree. Its limbs tangled in the world below. Chapter 15 invites us to witness this strange and wondrous tree, not to climb it, but to understand what binds us to it and how we might, with discernment, that's a very important word, discernment, cut ourselves free. Here Krishna unspools the tapestry of existence for Arjuna and for us as listeners and wanderers. The leaves of this tree are the sacred hymns, the Vedas, fluttering with ancient wisdom, but the branches are our restless desires. The branches are our restless desires, ever reaching, ever growing, looping us into the cycle of birth and rebirth, which is samsara. The world, says Krishna, is a place, Lord Krishna, is a place of constant becoming, a restless, shimmering reflection of something deeper, something real. When you hear me correct myself in my speech, again, that's not old age, that's not dotage, that's not free senility, that is an author correcting his speech that he's hearing himself say as I would edit my writings. I'm just editing my speech as opposed to editing my writings. I'm correcting them for your benefit and for my benefit. The world, says Krishna, is a place of constant becoming, a restless, shimmering reflection of something deeper, something real. But how do we escape this maze of branches and leaves? I wouldn't have used that word maze. I'm going to correct that word. I'm going to say this cluster of branches and leaves. Krishna points us to the axe of detachment. You could also use the sword of detachment. I don't like the word axe. I'm going to use sword. So Krishna points us to the sword of detachment, a sharp and luminous tool forged in understanding and inner clarity. He invites us to let go, to witness, The word witness in Sanskrit is Sakshi, and that is my pen name. I am Sakshi, the soul of the Atman, the consciousness, the conscience and the consciousness of this body. I have named my soul Sakshi, and that is also my pen name. To let go, to witness, Sakshi, to become the observer of our own thoughts, our own dramas, unmoved by the winds that bend the branches. In doing so, we remember our true home, not the shifting leaves, but in the source from which the tree springs. Chapter 15, above all, is a call to recognize the imperishable self. The Atman is eternal. Brahman was not born and he shall not die. Atman, the soul, is eternal also. We are not born, we shall never die. While bodies come and go like leaves falling and sprouting, the soul within is untouched, moving from life to life, gathering experiences, yet always luminous, always whole. Krishna urges us to look beyond the surface, past the ever-changing forms, and find that which is eternal, that which is us, and yet beyond us. And so the spirit of witness, Sakshi, we are asked in the spirit of the witness, Sakshi, we are asked to contemplate what is real and what is the shadow of the leaves, what is transient, what is eternal. Where do we seek fulfillment? In the branches or in the roots? The wise, Krishna tells Arjuna, are those who see the difference, who honor the imperishable self, who walk through life with a gentle detachment, rooted in the silence from which all things grow. Imagine a seed in the ground. It's midnight. The seed is breaking apart and sending its little tendrils up and pushing the soil apart so it can escape to the surface. Rooted in the silence from which all things grow. In the end, the chapter offers both comfort and challenge. It assures us that it assures us that release is possible, that by becoming the conscious observer, by moving beyond fleeting desires, we can find our way home. The way out is the way in, to see, to know, and to simply be. Excuse me, turning the page. This chapter, 15 of the Gita, in its luminous brevity, beckons us to become the witness, to see the world as a sacred tree, to honor its beauty, but not to be ensnared by its branches. As I might say, be still, breathe, and know you are not the tree, but the light that makes it visible. Also, you are the light that nourishes it, as sunlight nourishes the plants in our Mother Nature. And there the chapter ends. You'll say to yourself, well, I've never heard him speak quite like that. Well, if you've seen any of my videos, you would be 100% right. Normal time, I ad-lib. But tonight, for brevity and to save time and to get through this, 4 chapters and a conclusion, I need to read my works. But now you see how I write. I don't think any of you have ever read any of my papers or my discourses or my books or my essays, but this is the language in which I write. This is the language of yoga philosophy. This is the language of an educated man. I'm not bragging, that's just a fact. And I'll show you with a very short sentence how I am not bragging. I am self-educated from high school on. I am self-educated. I did take one semester at UT in the early 70s, a course on psychology. But after the semester, I went on to go into business and make my way through life. And I retired when I was about 50 years old, which is almost 25 years ago now. So now we'll go to chapter 16, Walking the Threshold. Okay? This is again a reflective summary of chapter 16. The dawn in Kurukshetra, that's the battleground, is laden with a hush that precedes a storm, a silence woven not of peace, but of reckoning. There's always a reckoning when war is heard thundering towards us beyond the horizon. In these hallowed verses, the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna speaks with the measured clarity of one who has seen the twin faces of truth and illusion. The twin faces of truth and illusion. There is eternal as the soul and the Creator. And in the narrative spirit reminiscent of myself, whose prose moves with the cadence of wind over dry grass. See, I'm waxing poetic here. Unflinching and wise, we step quietly into the world of the divine and the demonic, the Devi and the Asuric. The Devi and the Asuric. The stage of human nature. Here, the Gita does not merely offer a catalog of virtues and vices, rather it draws the map of the inner battlefield of which every soul must walk. This is probably the darkest chapter of the Gita. This is the chapter that describes saint-like creatures, or rishis, wise men, and demons. Terrible men, self-centered men, greedy men, insatiable men, or women or children. It draws the map of the inner battlefield on which every soul must walk. Krishna, gentle yet unsparing, tells Arjuna the two distinct natures that reside within us all. The Devi Sampad, or divine qualities, and the Asuric Sampad, the demonic properties. This is not a dichotomy of gods and demons in the mystic sense, but a subtle anatomy of the spirit. In the spirit of my storytelling, we see these natures not as abstract categories, but as characters, restless and real, moving through the corridors of our hearts. The Devi are those whose lives are suffused and fearless with purity, steadfastness. They're wise, they're compassion. They deal in nonviolence, truthfulness, and serenity. Their virtues ring like bells in the morning air, clear, simple, and inviting. Yet Krishna makes no promise that walking the divine path is effortless. It is anything but effortless, I can assure you of that. The divine qualities are earned, cultivated like wheat in fields. They have known both drought and rain. They are lived, not merely declared. Opposite the Asuric emerge, proud, hypocritical, cruel, lost in delusion and insatiable desire. They are the voices that seduce with certainty and urge with anger. Their lives are marked by restlessness, arrogance, and thirst that no indulgence can quench. I might describe them as men and women whose eyes are always searching the horizon, blind to the ground upon which they stand and walk, forever haunted by the echo of the word more. Reminiscent of my childhood heroes writing Nevermore from the Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Krishna's lamp illuminating the human condition is the next sub-chapter. Krishna is not a lawgiver in the cold sense, nor is he a distant arbiter. His illumination is gentle but unwavering, like a lantern set upon a threshold. I spoke of a lantern upon a threshold, I believe, in my last video. In this chapter, he does not pass. Turning the page here, I'm an old man, so my skin is dry and the pages tend to stick together when you're an old man. I'm sure you've seen movies where older people kind of lick their fingers and then they pull the pages apart. Let me go back and finish my sentence here. In this chapter, he does not pass judgment. Instead, he holds up a mirror. Here is what you may see in yourself, he seems to whisper. The divine and the demonic are seeds within, capable of blossoming according to the soul we choose to nurture. So if we nurture the divine in ourselves, the divine may flourish. If we nurture the demonic, knowing Murphy's Law the way I do, the demonic will definitely burst forth. One hears echoes of my narrative's restraint. Krishna does not thunder. He invites. He tells Arjuna, and through him, all of us. He tells Arjuna, and through telling him, all of us, that the divine path is a journey of self-mastery, of examination and gentle correction. Always be gentle with yourself when you correct yourself. To be divine is not to be free of darkness. And that's rather paradoxical, but it's also true from my life experience. To be divine is not to be free of darkness, but to be unafraid to look at it directly, to look evil in the face. I have done it. I know what evil looks like. To recognize anger, envy, and greed as fellow travelers who must be acknowledged before they can be left behind. The demonic mind is the next subheading, a portrait of dislocation. The Gita's demonic nature is not some horned fiend, but the one who, in my words, lives in exile from their own heart. I believe that. Evil people know nothing of their own heart and the goodness that lies therein. The Asuric spirit is preoccupied with the ephemeral, mistaking the glitter of the world for gold. Oh yes, I slip in my own little opinions here and there in my papers and in my videos. If you've seen a few of them, you know I do. That's not brag, that's a fact. There is a heedlessness to their ambition, a violence, not always physical, but ever present in their disregard for consequences. They say violence is always physical. They say violence not always physical, but ever present in their disregard for consequences. They say, as Krishna recounts, the world is without truth. Everything is fake. Without foundation, oh, it's all falling apart. Without a God, well, there is a God, but he has to be of a certain faith and has to have certain followers with certain skin tones. Brought about by mutual union. Brought about by mutual union. Their God is brought about by mutual union, caused by lust alone. They're very lustful people, these demons. This is the voice of cynicism, the rejection of order and meaning. Theirs is the voice of cynicism, the rejection of order and meaning. The demonic are cast adrift, their rudders cut. They do not see the unity of life, the rhythm of duty and renunciation. They live for themselves, and so doing become the increasingly hollow. They become increasingly more hollow. I would perhaps draw them as wanderers with empty cups or empty bowls, staking thirst at every puddle, lapping at every puddle, never satisfied. The consequences and the choices. There are consequences to your choices, my friends. Krishna does not shy away from the consequences of these ways of being. For those who tend the field of the Dayal, there is peace, freedom. There is peace, freedom, and ultimately union with the divine. For the Asuric, there is bondage, first to their passions, then to their sufferings, and finally in the cycle of birth, rebirth, which is like an unending road. There is no rest offered to them. But this is not a tale of condemnation. Rather, it is a call to agency. The Gita is Krishna's hands. The Gita is a living text, a prompt for reflection, not obedience. It's not enough to fear the demonic or praise the divine. One must choose daily and deliberately which seeds to water. Here my spirit is especially alive. There is always a path back, always another dawn. Redemption is never out of reach for those willing to turn and look at their own shadow. Self-cultivation and surrender. Self-cultivation and surrender. Central to this chapter is the possibility of transformation. The demonic qualities are not a life sentence. Everyone can change. I have changed. You may change, but you have to want it. Through discipline and self-study and surrender to divine, anyone may turn away from the path of sorrow, the path of evil. Krishna's teaching is radical in its inclusivity. The divine is available to all, regardless of birth or past action, provided there is sincerity in the striving. My characters often emerge from hardship with a kind of battered grace. These are in my allegories, my little stories I tell. My characters often emerge from hardship with a kind of battered grace. They would find friendship in this teaching. The Gita is generous. Its wisdom is not reserved for the blameless, but offered like bread to all who hunger for meaning, all who hope for betterment in their lives. The fluidity of human identity. What the 16th chapter offers above all is a vision of human identity as fluid, not fixed. The divine and demonic are not immutable traits. They are weather in the soul, passing, shifting, sometimes stormy, sometimes clear. To read the Gita through my narrator's eye is to see ourselves in all the characters, to recognize that hero and villain, saint and sinner, are roles we play at different hours of the day. Thus, Krishna's lessons are ones of humility and hope. We are not asked to declare ourselves once and for all, but to return again and again to the work of self-fashioning, remolding, remaking, improving. The invitation to reflection. As the chapter closes, Krishna's voice is gentle and reassuring. Do not grieve, Arjuna, he says, for you are born with divine qualities, as we all are. The invitation is not to despair at our failings, but to take heart in our capacity for growth. In the narrative voice of myself, this is the quiet wisdom of dusk, the understanding that the soul's journey is long and every step, stumbling or sure-footed, is part of the story. We are each, at every moment, the sum of the qualities we have chosen to cultivate. That bears repeating. We are each, at every moment, the sum of the qualities we have chosen to cultivate. The Gita does not promise ease, but it does promise possibilities. Possibilities that, though the world and the heart are fraught with contradiction, meaning and peace are within each of us. The divine is not an inheritance, but a practice. If you practice at tennis, you become a good tennis player. If you practice at bowling, you become a better bowler. If you practice the divine.